from the same school district. She was just talking about Freeport, Illinois. We're a Title I school. But this is a little bit about my background. I didn't get a teaching job right away. I was actually a paraprofessional in my hometown for a year, lived at home. It was awesome, free food. Then I got a job for 5th grade. I taught 5th grade for 2 years. And now I'm currently teaching 3rd grade at an international baccalaureate school. This is a certified school where we also abide to the Common Core standards, but actually there's like basically it's like a global standards as well on top of it. And so basically, I guess the simple way to put it is we take like global problems and we take action on those. And so my students have, currently my students are working on like natural resources and biomes, and they're using those natural resources to build shelters with and solving problems that way. And what resources do we have here compared to other places in the world? So it's still a low income school, but my school is just a little bit different from the other schools in the area, just for that reason. Our objective is hopefully you guys will be able to take some strategies away to use in your own classrooms. I found out the strategies that I'm teaching today, or showing you guys today, are strategies that have worked well for me for mostly behavior management. Because in our school, like she said, we're basically on the personalized part where students are getting voice and choice, and they're actually getting a say in their own education, which is the part I really, really enjoy about it. So what is it's giving the ability to have voice and choice, allows students to basically just take ownership on their own learning. Teachers aren't just supposed to be responsible for the students, they need to be responsible for themselves too, and understand why they're there and what they're learning and basically the purpose for them being there. And next year, our board is deciding, I think in a couple weeks, if we're going to go to the mastery part, which is basically getting rid of grade levels and going to, if we pass this standard, good job, you get to move up to the next one. So it's going to be a huge transition for us in high school, and we'll see how that works. And so currently in 3rd grade, we give the ISAT this year, and next year we'll be starting working on a Common Core park. What does it look like? Today what I'm going to show you is the Code of Cooperation, Essential Agreements, student contracts, Code of Collaboration, some of the things she talked about too, SOPs, Standard Operating Procedures, and some choice boards. I use these a lot, and my kids love them because they get to choose what activity they do, they get excited about it, and they complete their work. So I don't complain about that. We call it at our school Essential Agreements. So basically it's teacher-led, but it's student-created. It allows students to take ownership of their behaviors because they're like, well, what should I expect of myself for this year? And so I have a couple examples as we go through. I like it because it's a great way for not me to reflect on their behavior, but for themselves to reflect on their own behavior. And plus, especially in that 3rd grade level, the peer pressure is huge for them. They'll listen to their friends before they listen to their teacher. And so if their friends are saying, hey, we gotta do better than this, they'll most likely get there. And it took a long time for my class to get there, but the more we did it, the more they understood it, and basically we don't have a ton of off days anymore. And it's stuff that can be celebrated. My students love celebrating when they have a great day. How to create one. First, our students kind of brainstorm on what they would like to have in their classroom. A lot of schools already have something in place for like a behavior system. We have basically our 3 B's at our school, which is like be responsible, be respectful, and be caring, and the whole school uses that. But our specific classroom is going to have our own set of like behavior system that they kind of come up with. The next step is we make an affinity diagram. Basically, the kids write all their good ideas and each idea on a separate post-it note, and then they just kind of hand it to me or put it on the blackboard. And then when they go to like recess, what I do is I categorize them. So this one talks about being caring to students by helping them pick up a pencil. So I'll put that in the caring category. I'll show you what my kids came up with too. And then the final step, once you get all those notes organized, basically you can just write out a list of what they decided, and they kind of get a vote. Well, what did my kids said? Breaking a pencil. Well, do we really need to talk about breaking a pencil? Does that need to be up here? And then they kind of vote, like, give a thumbs up or thumbs down. So we kind of get rid of like the silly ones. Well, I don't get rid of them, they get rid of them. And so they kind of concentrate on that. And the last steps, we create our code. This is what an affinity diagram looks like. So they come up, they take their post-it notes, all their ideas, and then we basically put them together categories like A, B, C, D, and then we kind of like narrow it down to make it make sense, so all their ideas aren't like jumbled up. So this is ours. It looks crazy because I wrote it while they were talking, and so I really don't take a lot home, especially when me and the students are creating it together, because then they get to see it that they're creating it with me. And so I just underlined the huge things they talked about. So I kind of just combined all their ideas in each category. So one's listening. They said they have to keep their eye contact, they have to keep their ears open and be quiet when someone's talking. Respect others by using kind words, following the golden rule, and taking care of our classroom materials. But I basically just underlined the big, broad ideas just to kind of get through it. Raising our hand, and the last one was walk. And if you notice, all my students ended up signing it, and I signed it as well. Because I will follow, the students understand that I'm following these too. So if I need to respect their ideas, I need to listen to what they have to say. I can't interrupt them either. So this is a whole classroom thing, and this is theirs. It's not mine. It's their classroom too. It's their learning. It's not my learning. I'm just helping them to get there. And I think that's kind of the huge thing that I've learned like this past year. It's not my learning, it's theirs. So this is them taking ownership just right from that first couple of days of school. This is basically what we did the first day. And so just kind of like how they do in this school, we chart our progress. And I actually don't chart it. My students do. And so this one's kind of shaky because sometimes we remember to do it and sometimes we don't. But most of the time, I have a teacher helper who stands up in the front of the classroom, and the teacher says, I'm going to pick 3 students to explain to me why we got this score, this score, this score. So if the student's holding a 4, they have to give us evidence on why they think the classroom should be at a 4. They just can't say 4. They have to tell us why. Well, Mr. Bayles, or well, Brennan, because I don't do it anymore. They do it. Well, Brennan, I think we deserve a 4 because we did a really good job in music today. We got a lot of compliments and we got some rewards for it. I'm like, that's a really good one. And I'm still there, like making my extra comments. And so they get to chart their progress. And if they have 4s, I kind of give them like a reward, like the last 5 minutes of the day we play Frogger. But if they have 3s or 2s, then we kind of, at the end of the day, we have to reflect on what we did and what we can kind of change to do that. And so now this is kind of towards the end of the school year. My class doesn't really get a lot of 2s anymore. We kind of stay in that 3 to 4 range. I still have a couple of those kids who choose not to follow the essential agreements, and I don't really let that affect the whole class. If a majority of the class is at a 3 and following, being respectful, listening, I just kind of have them sit out because they just did not follow what they were asked to do. And another way they kind of chart their progress is they actually have kind of like a data wall. I do clips for their behavior. I clip up and I clip down. And so if we notice that 4 or 5 kids clip down during the day and they're on like either take a break or parent contact, we know we don't deserve a 3. And so that's another way to kind of reflect on our day as well. And so them reflecting on their day and me just keep reminding them and reminding them about this, they've done a lot better. So I became frustrated really fast that first couple weeks of school, but now I'm pretty easygoing.
What is, if they break the essential agreement, like what's the initial, like right away, what happens? Do the, like what classmate mention it to them or? Yeah,
most of the time I just have to say, well, are we showing a 3 right now? And most of the kids will just say, no, we're not showing a 3, and they'll fix their behavior.
Okay.
I still do the classroom, I still take charge of if a student is name calling or a student is misbehaving. I handle that part, but if maybe a student was shouting out, their classmates say, you can't do that, that's what we're trying to work on. And so they kind of monitor like the smaller issues, but if it's like something big, that's definitely something for like the teacher to handle. And so we do set class goals. So one of my beginning year, because they're kind of still in that second grade and summer mode, was shouting out answers and being able to listen to others. And so there's basically 3 steps that we did to this. First, we write our class goal, and I do write it down, but once again, they create it. But as teachers and 3rd graders, you can lead them into what you think the class goal should be pretty easily. And then you have to tell them how are you going to record that progress. A lot of times, I just use tallies. And so as soon as, let's say, Marquiesia shouts out, I have to go put a tally up here. And we have like a set goal of like, we can't exceed more than 5 tallies for the day. And if we reach that goal by Friday or Tuesday or by the end of the day, we're really good. If it's something that occurs a lot, you can set it by hour. You can set it by half day or a full day. You don't have to set it like weeks in advance. So the next part is choice boards. Again, it's allows students to choose what assignments they want to complete. And students take ownership of the learning. They get to set individual goals for themselves. And it kind of challenges like my really, really bright students, because I'm not always able to get to them. It challenges them to do an extra assignment or do something that's a little bit harder. So I have a homework choice board because this is the first year that they've ever had homework, and especially in 3rd grade. And I'll show you an example of what I give out every week. The purpose is they practice their skills either for review or something that we're working on that week. So it might be multiplication is a huge one right now. But I still also have subtraction because I have students who have not passed subtraction yet. And so they need to finish subtraction before I even want them thinking about multiplication. Even though I'm teaching multiplication during class, that's something that still they need to practice on. Benefits for the way I do homework is I have gotten great feedback from parents, because the way I do it, I don't say you have to get this paper assignment done on Monday. You don't have to get this paper assignment done on Tuesday. You don't have to read 20 minutes on Wednesday. They can kind of make their own schedule, especially for kids who have like those after-school programs. They can kind of divvy it up. Like, let's say they go spend some time with family. I don't want to punish them for spending time with family or that extra time, so they kind of get to choose their own way of doing things. But it's pretty basic, and I'll show an example maybe at the end. So this is my next step to adding to my choice board, is I'm going to start adding my levels of blooms to it as well. And so that'll guarantee me that students are reaching a higher level of thinking too. And so if you notice that this is the first level, and so they can choose one practice out of the first level, because that's just like a knowledge-based practice. Just something right there that's easy for them to do. And so they can only choose one out of there, they can only choose one out of there. Now when they get down to the higher level thinking, that's where they can have more choices, and this is where it will be more challenging for them to do. So they're still able to do the lower level, but this kind of still pushes them down to that higher level thinking, even with their homework. And also you can use this with, I know a lot of my teachers in our school are using this for their centers or their stations too. And so students are allowed to choose what center they go to as long as they hit the must-dos, or so it still gives them choice, and it kind of motivates them too a little bit. The next thing I'm going to talk about is standard operating procedures, and this can be used from beginning to end. I say whenever you notice something that needs to happen, so my biggest issue that I never thought was going to be an issue was pencils. I feel like my kids eat them. So the problem was they didn't know what to do with them. They didn't know how to organize that. So we sat down as a class. We said, what do we do if we don't have a pencil? And so I ended up making a sharp and broken bin. And that's what we decided as a class. So when a pencil's broken, they put it in the broken tray. And then they grab one from the sharpen. And then either I go and sharpen them or I have a student go and sharpen them. Still, I'm still missing a lot of pencils, but some students follow it, so it's getting a little bit easier, but it's in between. A lot of it happens at the beginning of the year because you're going to have a lot of like hallway procedures or morning procedures or bathroom breaks. We have a bathroom in our classroom, and the boys are terrible in the bathroom. They can't aim, and they stand on the sink. And so I had to literally sit down with them again and talk about what behaviors we should see in the bathroom and how should we enter the bathroom, what should we do while we're in the bathroom, and how should we exit the bathroom. I had a kid pee on another kid's shoe in the bathroom one time, so it's been, but it hasn't happened since. So a lot of this has actually helped out with their behavior. A huge one is when they're done with work, kids just want to bother other people when they're done with work, even if they just finish as fast as they can and it's a horrible assignment, they're just going to do it right away. So that's another good one for kids that finish early. Have your kids sit down with you and make procedures. We always have morning work to finish. My kids always have some type of math assignment to finish just during the day, not as assigned homework because I have separate homework stuff. And even when they need help, we came up with, because I can't have 20 or 20 plus kids come up and say, Mr. Bayles, I need this, I need this, I need this. We made a general rule, ask 3 before me. And so they have to ask 3 classmates to find the answer or help them read the question or help them explain it before they come and ask me. And I said, I don't mind you guys asking me questions, but we need to learn how to use the resources. And the ask 3 before me, we've started to add dictionaries in our math books, and that counts as one of the 3 too. And so here's an example. This is kind of a flow chart of how it's done. You saw a morning procedure one earlier if you were in the last session. And it's basically how our morning starts. You make a decision, yes or no. You take action, and then there's another decision be made, and then you say yes or no again, and then hopefully you get to the final end of the procedure of it. And so here are a couple examples of it. This is mine on the right. It says, have you put your bag in your locker and grab your supplies for the day? If not, they have to go back to their locker. Because I really don't want them coming in my classroom if they have to keep going in and out, in and out, in and out of the classroom. It bothers me. And so the next one is they need to check in for lunch. After they check in for lunch, do you need a breakfast? We actually have breakfast in our classrooms this year. And so the kids sit down, they eat breakfast, and then they get started on the morning work. If they do, they have to check in and grab a breakfast. If not, they have to go and grab pencils for the day. It looks complicated, but again, this is something that they came up with. And so they knew what they had to be ready for the day. And then, did you clean up at the second bell? And then if no, I say clean fast. And then if yes, it goes, if you notice, if after they clean up, it goes back up, do you have pencils for the day? And it kind of all goes to the exact same spot. Start your morning work. And so every morning my kids have something to do, to work on, while we wait for the rest of the day to kind of get started. And so this is an awesome procedure. And I probably don't even need to have it up anymore because my kids know it so well. And so I could probably just take it down. And they say let's say my kids start to forget, I can bring it back out and put it back up. So here's some other procedures that I just kind of found. They have pencil procedures, they have restroom procedures, how to enter a room, how to exit the classroom. A lot of you will definitely have to exit the classroom. It gets very chaotic. I didn't know what to do my first week, especially with those third graders, because we didn't have planners, we didn't have take-home folders, we weren't provided anything for about a month. And so it was really difficult, but then we came up with a procedure for it. Everything kind of calmed down, and the kids knew what to do. After they got their stuff ready, they sit on the carpet, and so on until the bell rings. I also make personalized standard operating procedures for my students with behavior problems. This is one of my students, and he has a problem. He has a defiant bipolar disorder. And so we made a chart for him, and he has a behavior chart sheet too. It's a Batman sheet. We don't use stickers anymore. And actually, I kind of made it a lot easier. We do it hour by hour now. And so if he does follow directions, let's say for math, he gets color in the Batman. If he follows directions and listens to me during reading, which is the next hour, he gets color in another Batman. If he gets colored in so many Batmans, he gets to go help the office. And that's what we do in the morning. In the afternoon, he has a whole different reward. And so his behavior has just been awesome these past few weeks. Once in a while, it comes back to haunt me, but he's doing really well. So that's one of, you can make it almost personal to those students too. And it's just a good way to help those students who don't follow those essential agreements all the time to kind of make their own. Just take them to the side. That's pretty much all I have. These are a lot of resources I use. I use Teachers Pay Teachers probably too much, but there's so much good free Common Core stuff on there. Lots and lots of freebie items, but I also do spend lots and lots of money on there too. Pinterest, I know it's probably just for girls, but I use it. It actually has, like, I teach in an IB school, and the IB school's really new to me. It actually has a lot of the IB school stuff for me online, and I've gotten a lot of good creative ideas off there. I get my behavior charts off freeprintable.behaviorcharts.com, and it has all these different cool, fun characters on it for the students coloring that I know are having struggle. I have 3 different kids who color them in after they have those. They're okay. I use planbook.com instead of a regular plan book. It's an online plan book, so I can pull it up anywhere. A good resource is fellow colleagues, either steal or borrow. I usually just steal and don't tell them. No, I'm just kidding. Your fellow colleagues will be very helpful. And this whole new way of thinking is actually coming from Copper and Jean, which is called, basically we call it personalized mastery. So those are that's where I got the standard operating procedures from, my flow charts, and different things like that. So research them if you still have a lot more questions for them. And I have my email up here if you guys need my PowerPoint or you need more information or anything like that. I have a couple minutes left. Does anybody have any questions? No?
I have a question.
Yeah.
How do you keep track of, like, what kid did what homework, and, like, how do you make sure that you give them, like, do they have grades, or is it just, like, completed, like, so you grade them all, stuff, like?
I'll see. Well, basically, for the homeworks item, I give them a full week to do it.
Okay.
And so it's not due, like, every day. So if a student forgets, it's not really that big of a deal. And most of my kids know that they're not going to be able to do it by a certain time. Mm-hmm. And so they turn it in like 3 days early. And so if they know they're going to have a busy weekend, they turn it in by Friday. Or if they know they're going to miss next Monday because they're sick or they're not going to be here for a week, I still give it to them and they still have to complete it.
They have attached the rubrics to the top of it.
Yeah, I have a rubric. If I can find it, it'll be, there it is. And so this is what my homework looks like. And so this is a section of math, this is language arts, and this is reading. And so I base it by points, and basically in each category, the students have to get 5 points. And this one's worth 2 because this is just practicing the regular facts. But then this one's worth 3 because this is a new idea. They have to create 3 different fact family triangles, show the 2 equations of multiplication, 2 equations of division, and I gave like a little quick example of what that would look like. And so I don't put a ton of guidelines on there because my kids get really creative with some of the stuff. And this is just practice. This is not something that is a final assessment. And so that's why I'm pretty lenient on kind of what they turn in as long as they hit the statements that I have set up. And so my next goal again is to make them level of blooms for each of the 4 different categories. And so I kind of hit that as well.
Do they just do it on like notebook paper, or you give them?
This basically, sometimes I attach a worksheet, and so when they turn everything in, they can do it on notebook paper, they can do it on computer paper. I've had a couple kids, I think I brought them. create books because they're just really creative students. So this is a verb book. Both of these are verb books. And so that was one of the assignments, and they just handed it to me, and it was a celebration in my classroom because they took action outside of class. So, and then I just put the total amount of points on here. I don't spend a ton of time grading it because I know these kids, especially from a low-income school, don't have the best family atmosphere, or their parents are working so much that they don't have time to spend it on this. So I do have a couple spot for signatures. That's just for like reading 20 minutes every night and practicing math facts. So something they can't show me, I just put a parent signature. So.
Do you find like, I don't know, because I'm thinking with worksheets and stuff, a lot of times they need like an example to get started. Do you give them like examples on there, or do they just pretty much, they can just do it on their own?
If it's a worksheet, it's usually a review.
Okay.
And so it's something we've done before. And so my kids love the, I don't know if you guys have, the math mystery pictures.
Yeah.
Where they have to solve the problem and then look for the answer down here, and then they have to use that to color it in. And so it's usually for like worksheets and stuff like that, it's something we've already done, so it's easy for them to do.
Yeah.